Hello everyone, I'm Claire, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to the newest Mooncat release, their Remedy collection. If you've seen my videos reacting to Holo Taco collections or the one other Mooncat released this year, then you know what we're doing here. I'm not someone who gets PR from brands, and I don't typically buy full collections, I just pick up my favorites when I can. With Mooncat's recent price increase, I'll definitely be waiting for a sale, and that means I can't always do a swatch and review like other creators, but I still want to be able to talk about new releases, so I like to go through each of the polishes, discuss how I feel about them, and if they're going on my wish list. I'll also talk about the collection as a whole, the vibes, the finishes, that kind of thing. And hopefully, if you're also someone who's a little more selective about what you get, or you're on a low buy or no buy, then seeing this approach to collections is helpful for you. I definitely think that buying nail polish isn't the only way to enjoy it, so let's get into it. Mooncat is a boutique nail polish brand based in the US. Their Remedy collection was released May 30th, and it's based on the brand owner Michelle's childhood memories. She grew up in Taiwan and shared a lot of the inspiration for various polishes, which I'll get into more in a bit. This collection is pretty big, it's 9 polishes, 5 are thermals and 4 are shimmers, and the colors are kind of bright but soft, all very pretty. So starting with the thermals, the first is Melonberry. It's a light lavender purple in the cold state and pink in the warm state. And it's what would be considered a cream thermal, meaning that there's no extra shimmer or flakes or anything else in there, it's just the thermal pigment. And it's pretty. These are cute kind of pastel colors, but they aren't that exciting to me, and I think the pink would probably clash with my skin, so I'll be skipping this one, especially because I try not to add too many thermals to my collection anyway. A bottle of thermal polish will eventually lose its ability to transition and get stuck in one color, and if I have a lot of them, that means I won't get much use out of each one before it dies. And I would also rather get a thermal that still has something interesting about it when it stops transitioning, and that's not the case with Melonberry. Next is Flying Nimbus, which is another cream thermal. This one is sky blue in the cold state and white in the warm state, pretty clearly inspired by clouds in the sky. And it's actually one of my favorites of the thermals in this collection. I know I was just talking about how I prefer thermals with more going on, but this one, even though it's simple, is very pretty, and it's just perfect for the inspiration. So it is going on my wish list, but I don't know if I'll get it. These thermals are pretty pricey. With Mooncat's price increase, they're $18, so even if I wait for a sale, it's still a lot to pay for a polish that will end up as functionally just a cream. Maybe I should learn to do some nail art if I want it to look like there are clouds on my nails. Then we've got Jump Jump Bug, which is a thermal that changes from blue-green in the cold state to yellow-green in the warm state. It's another pretty one. I do like this color combo, and apparently the phrase Jump Jump Bug is a translation of a Taiwanese term for jumping insects like grasshoppers, but also for restless or fidgety people, which is cute. But I don't need this one. The colors aren't calling to me enough, and it has the drawbacks of the other cream thermals, so I'll be skipping it. Next is Koi Whiskers. It's a coral color in the cold state and yellow in the warm state, and it also has some very subtle pink shimmer that I can't really see in most photos. This is another one that I like, but it's actually kind of similar to one of the few thermals that I have, Rage Bait from Holo Taco. People definitely noticed some similarities between these new Mooncat thermals and Holo Taco's thermals from their 5th anniversary collection last year. There's Koi Whiskers and Rage Bait, and then Melonberry and Guilty Pleasure are both purple to pink, and Jump Jump Bug and Funny Feeling are both tealish to yellowy greenish. But in general, the Mooncats are much softer versions of the colors, and I wouldn't accuse Mooncat of duping Holo Taco anyway, since there are a limited number of thermal pigments available, and brands just have to work with what's there. That being said, Rage Bait is still pretty close to this one, so I don't need Koi Whiskers. And then the last thermal is Sakura's Serenade, which transitions from a bright pink to a lighter pink, and it has a blue shimmer that is actually visible. This one is based on Sakura flowers, also known as cherry blossoms, so another inspiration that makes a lot of sense with the color of the polish. And I do enjoy a good hot pink, but I don't like the lighter shade as much, so I'll be skipping this one. Before I continue with the other polishes, I do want to mention a couple of options for duping thermals, since these ones are pretty expensive as nail polish goes. One option is potentially finding similar thermals from other brands. Like I said, there are only so many thermal colorways, so you are going to see some repetition, and especially because these don't have a lot of extra glitter or flakes, you don't have to worry about those elements matching. I've heard a lot of people mention the brand Fancy Gloss as an option for cream thermals at a much lower price point. I haven't ordered from them, so I can't personally speak to their quality, but a lot of people have recommended them, so it could be something to check out. And the other option is doing a gradient, sponging a couple colors onto your nail so they blend into each other. Now, if what you like about thermals is seeing them change throughout the day, then this might not satisfy you. But if what you like about thermals is seeing both colors at once, with one color transitioning into the other, then you can get a couple creams in the right colors and just use those. And depending where you shop, you might be able to get 2 creams for the price of one of these thermals, and they'll be more versatile in your collection. I don't personally do a lot of nail art, so I'm not the best person to tell you how to do a gradient, but there are lots of tutorials out there that you can follow. Moving on to the shimmers, first is Ribbit Ribbit. This one is described as a vibrant pastel green with light blue shimmer, and it's inspired by frogs. I do think this one is pretty, but it's not my favorite green. I feel like in some shots it looks really nice and vibrant, while in others the color looks a bit washed out. I think it's possible that that's because of how the shimmer interacts with the base in different lighting, but I'm not really sure. Either way, I don't need it. And then Dewpearls is an icy blue polish with blue to purple to pink shimmer, and I think this one is really pretty. Seems like a bit more of a sheer formula, and like it can look very different depending on the lighting. Definitely one of those that could be described as ethereal. It's not on my wish list right now, but I am kind of considering it. I especially like how it looks in low lighting, but it actually reminds me a little of a polish that I have, Happily Ever Aqua from Holo Taco. That one is a linear holo, so it definitely looks different in the sun, but in the shade you can see that it has a very similar shimmer to Dewpearls in addition to a similar base color, so I probably don't need both of them. Next is Murraya's Melody, which is a pale yellow with yellow to green shimmer. And when I saw this one, I was like, that's Demeter's Harvest. Why did they make Demeter's Harvest again? Having seen some comparisons, they are different since Demeter's Harvest is a bit more vibrant, not as pastel, though it is still on the lighter side of yellow. But I do kind of question Mooncat having both of these in their catalog at the same time, especially because they have so few yellows. And Demeter's Harvest was voted their ugliest polish in an Instagram poll last year, so I don't really see why they would make something so similar instead of branching out and doing a different kind of yellow polish, like a more saturated yellow, or a yellow with a different shimmer color, or a yellow with flakes or glitter. I think this is a pretty polish, but I already have Demeter's Harvest, so I don't need Murraya's Melody. And then last is Momo Yuyake, which is a pink-leaning coral polish with orange to pink shimmer. Another pretty one. I do enjoy the orange-pink color combo and how shifty this one seems to be, but at the same time, it's not really calling to me. I've seen a lot of pink polishes with orange shimmer. Lurid Lacquer seems to do a lot of them, and I will probably get something in this range eventually, but I have yet to find the version of this combo that's exactly what I want. Momo Yuyake isn't it, so I'll be skipping it. So yeah, those are all the polishes. I'd say like 1.5 were wishlist material for me, and it's not that I don't like them, I do. I think most of them are pretty, and if someone gave them to me, then I would wear them. But none of them really stood out to me as like, I need to have that on my nails. None of them made me want to actually spend money to get them in my collection. And now I want to talk some about the inspiration behind this collection and how it was marketed, because I think that's where it really shines. Like I said before, this collection is inspired by the brand owner Michelle's childhood in Taiwan, and Mooncat made a lot of Instagram posts for individual polishes sharing the specific inspiration, whether it's something in nature or pop culture or personal memories. And they even commissioned calligraphy and a song to feature in the marketing as well. I do tend to enjoy collections that have some sort of personal significance for the creator. It's something I've talked about with Holo Taco collections, where I think they tend to be just a little better in some intangible way when it's a theme that Christine feels a connection to. So I definitely enjoy how personal the Remedy collection feels, and how the marketing was able to create this soft, gentle, nostalgic atmosphere around the collection. I think that was really successful. But at the end of the day, it's the polishes themselves that matter more than the marketing and the inspiration, and I do think that they fell a little short of my expectations for Mooncat. One aspect of that is the color story. There's nothing wrong with it if you look at it in isolation. I think it's very cohesive with lots of those vibrant pastels, but it's kind of what I would consider a spring palette, and we already got that from Mooncat this year with the Baroque collection. Like I noticed some reviewers say it almost feels like a continuation of that collection, and again, nothing necessarily wrong with that. You can have two collections that flow into each other, but I do have a couple issues. One is that it feels a bit late in the year for a spring collection. Not that I only wear polishes seasonally, but I am used to spring collections coming out in like February and March, so that people who do wear polish seasonally can use them for the whole season. And then May and June, or sometimes even earlier, is when we usually start getting summer polishes. I am guessing that this collection was originally scheduled for April, but then they did their lunar sale in April instead, So it would have made a bit more sense then, but either way we got 2 spring collections. And I usually wouldn't mind that too much since a lot of brands do multiple collections per season, but Mooncat seems to be doing fewer collections this year. I can't find where I originally read this, but Michelle posted that because of some health issues she's been having, it's been more feasible to do fewer collections with more polishes, rather than smaller monthly or bi-monthly releases. Which in general, I don't mind at all, that's totally fair, but my issue is that if we're getting fewer collections, I do want them to be more distinct. We got a collection with a lot of pastels in February, and then we waited 3 months to get more of the same. And I would just prefer more variety, so the maybe 4 or 5 collections we get this year cater to more people, cover more aesthetics, that kind of thing. And then I also feel like this collection fell a little short of expectations with the finishes. We've got cream thermals, shimmer thermals, and shimmers, and that just isn't very exciting to me. Creams and shimmers are nice, but I kind of expect Mooncat to be a little more adventurous. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on the Mooncat catalog or their past releases since I've been following them for less than 2 years. I know they have done cream collections, and at least one collection that was all shimmers, Goddess Complex. But to me, even if they have done a lot of those more simple collections and I'm just not aware of it, when I think Mooncat, I think of their collections with a lot of stuff going on, like Midnight Rodeo that had shimmers and flakies and multichromes and metallics, or Pretty Prehistoric that had flakes and reflective glitter and matte finish polishes, or the Fallen collection that had a few shimmers but also mixed in magnetics and multichromes, or Songs of Sirens that did magnetics and thermals and flakies and shimmers. I could go on, but you get the point. Mooncat is really good at making interesting polishes, at least when it comes to boutique brands, but we just haven't seen as much of that this year. And I just find that a little bit disappointing. I've seen what they can do and how creative they can be, and they market themselves as being edgy and different, so I just want to see more evidence of that, because their polishes this year have not been up to their usual standards. And the last thing I want to talk about is the year Mooncat has been having and how things have been going in the past 12 months or so, because between exploding bottles and now a price increase, things have not been very smooth for the brand. Now, if you want the full information about Mooncat's broken bottle issue, I would recommend checking out Linry's video about it because she really did a deep dive, so I'll have that linked below. But basically, at some point last year or the year before, Mooncat ended up with a batch of bottles that were too thin, so they were very prone to breaking, either in shipping or when people were handling them. And last year they had their lunar sale in May, and then the Powerpuff Girls collab in June, so there was a very high volume of orders going out, and that meant a lot of people ending up with broken bottles, which Mooncat then had to replace, which was probably expensive for them. And then they also had to get new bottles from a new supplier, which delayed their next collection. Powerpuff Girls came out in June, and we didn't see another release until September, so that was probably also not great for the brand financially. And that brings us to this year and tariffs. Tariffs have placed a financial burden on a lot of brands because even though a lot of them mix their polish in the US, the pigments come from China or other countries, and it's now much more expensive to have them imported. So we've seen several nail polish brands announce price increases. I mentioned some of the specifics in my last video, but basically of the 4 big boutique brands, ILNP, Cirque, and Mooncat have all raised their prices, and Holo Taco says they will be raising prices, but they haven't made the official announcement yet or said how much prices will go up. But I'd say that so far, Mooncat's price increase has been the most dramatic. It's not that it's the biggest increase because they raised prices by $1 to $2 and ILNP raised prices by $2.50, but ILNP was on the less expensive side before and they still kind of are even after the increase, while Mooncat was already on the higher end of pricing for boutique brands and their increase makes that even more true. They're selling magnetics and thermals for $18, which is a couple dollars more than anyone else. So I think that's led some people to wonder if their price increase isn't just about the tariffs, but maybe also about recovering some of their financial losses from the past year. But I kind of worry that that's not actually a good strategy because I've definitely seen some people say that they won't be shopping Mooncat anymore at this price point, that it's just too expensive for them now, that they would maybe still consider shopping during a sale, but definitely not at other times. So I feel like the price increase might not actually lead to more income. Of course, I don't know that for sure. I don't know how many people bought this collection versus other collections. Mooncat has some very loyal customers who were probably still willing to spend the extra money, but I would guess that maybe this price increase isn't working out exactly how Mooncat wanted it to. We'll see if they change anything going forward and what happens with them the rest of the year. When it comes to my personal opinion and whether I'll be shopping for Mooncat in the future, I am still open to it. They're a brand that I usually try to get on sale anyway, so depending on what they release between now and Black Friday, I might place an order then. I think that's because I kind of mentally put things that aren't necessities, like nail polish, into a different category than, say, groceries or clothing. I am going to try to get good deals on necessities. That's partly why I like thrifting, because I have a hard time spending like $50 on a couple pieces of new clothing when I know that that money could go so much further in the thrift store. But with nail polish, it's kind of a frivolous purchase regardless, and so I'm not as worried about getting the best deal or getting the most polish for my money. If I have $50 to spend on nail polish, I know that I could go to Walmart and get like 20 bottles of LA Colors, but I would rather spend it on one of my favorite brands like Lurid Lacquer or Cadillacquer or potentially Mooncat, even though I could only get 3 or 4 bottles from them for that amount of money. I'm not trying to have a big collection or have a bunch of different colors to use in nail art, so getting a few polishes that I really enjoy has more value for me than getting a lot of polishes just for the sake of having a lot. But of course, that's just me. Everyone is going to have a different perspective and different things that they value when it comes to how they spend their money, so feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Thank you to everyone who's watching till the end. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Remedy collection and if you bought any of it. Also let me know what you think of Mooncat's price increase and anything else you want to tell me. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would leave me a like or maybe even subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!